Yeah, it's mindset cafe, we all got that mindset. Gotta stay focused, never settle for less. It's all in your head, how you think you manifest. So get ready to rise, cause we about to be the best. Gotta switch it up, gotta break the old habits. Get your mind right, turn your dreams into habits. No negative vibes, only positive thoughts.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Mindset Cafe podcast. It's your boy, Devan, and we got a special guest today. We got Chance Richardson with us. I met him through one of our online networking groups, and he is the owner of Revolution One Media. And I wanted to bring him on to kind of explain his experience as an entrepreneur and, hopefully be able to help other people with their journey through entrepreneurship and their mindset through the journey. So, Chance, thank you so much for taking the time to hop on today.
Hey, thanks for having me. Man, that intro gets me hype every time. I like that intro a lot. But yeah, I appreciate you having me on. And, I'm always interested in spreading some value and just, helping people out where I can. So I hope that your listeners are able to get a lot out of this episode.
No, definitely. And I know they will. So before we dive into your journey and stuff, do you want to explain, what Revolution One Media is a little bit?
Yep. So Revolution One Media is a full digital marketing company. We do everything from content creation, website design, running ads on Google, Bing, places like that. Just, overall helping businesses generate leads through digital marketing. And, we help out with a little bit of print and stuff like that too, but mostly we try to stay digital because that's where we're the most comfortable at.
Oh, that's awesome. I feel like that's one of the hardest things as an entrepreneur is, the marketing and, the media aspect of it. So that's awesome. So how did you get started in your entrepreneurial path? Like what was your introduction to it?
It's been a long journey to say the least. So there's not a lot of entrepreneurs in my family. Most of my family was blue collar. Just most of them actually worked for the government around here. So that was kind of like the path that I was pushed toward. But I did have an uncle who started his business, and I just noticed that with my cousins and them, like their life was just a little bit better than other people's. Like they had all the cool toys and stuff. And I was raised by a single mother, so um, I saw my uncle build his business from something that was small into now he's 30 plus years, well 40, almost 40 years in business now, and just growing it from the ground up, and just watching that kind of pushed me. I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur and be a business owner and just be able to help the community and do a lot of the things that he done for the community and for his family. And I started out just basically um, working a 9 to 5 because I had children young, graduated high school, got married, I had a son all in the same year. So I kind of put those goals on hold for a little bit, and eventually just found my way into doing music. Started doing um, started doing some stuff for artists that I was working with, and eventually just fell in love with the marketing side of everything more than I did the music side, and just kind of grew from there. Just started helping businesses out, and then eventually quit my full-time job and started doing this full-time.
That's awesome. Sometimes the introduction into what we do, like you said, you started with like music and that nature, but then you found your niche of what you actually like to do and your purpose when you were doing something else, right? You're like, oh man, I like this one aspect, and now you have a business around it. When you were doing the music side, like what were you doing with artists and stuff?
Audio engineering, and I built my first website back in 2006 on a platform called tripod.com. It was, it wasn't too difficult, but I had to learn some coding, which back in those days, with MySpace and everything, you had to do a little bit of coding on there. So I was familiar with some HTML and different aspects of building websites, and actually put a digital distribution platform for music on that website and started doing just like an online radio show. I've always tried to stay ahead of the curve. Like now, getting into all the AI stuff and just always wanting to be ahead and look into the future. But that's kind of what I was doing with that is just doing audio engineering and helping artists promote themselves.
No, that's awesome. I mean, man, you rewound it back to the MySpace.
Yeah. Yep.
You know that I remember back, like, with MySpace, like having everyone had like one song on their profile, and
Hmm.
you find those websites that give you the codes so you can put like 10 songs, and that no one can turn it off and stuff.
Yeah. And then you had to have your top 8. You definitely had to have your top 8 on there.
Yeah, or yeah, that honestly, like, that was where it got a little fun as a kid too. That was cool.
Hmm.
Um, but no, I mean, that's awesome, right? You learned a skill and you developed a skill, and then you found one aspect of what you were doing and using it, and now you got a podcast, or you have 2 podcasts, right? And you have a whole media company around your one interest or your one introduction into this. How do you think that seeing your uncle, you said your uncle has the 40-year business, right? How do you
Yeah.
think that that's inspired you to take that leap of being an entrepreneur? Because it is a scary leap, right?
Hmm. Yeah. And, I watched, I was younger whenever he started his business, and so I don't remember a lot of the struggle years that he had, but I know over time he's had challenges with. I've seen him have challenges with keeping the right people around, and luckily a lot of the people in the family work for him, so he doesn't have to worry about that as much. But there's still challenges that come with that. Having your kids work for you, and people that you've known your whole life. So just seeing him struggle with some of those challenges and working through them, and also, building the business from the ground up, there's challenges with cash flow and all that. So just watching him go through some of the same challenges that I've faced growing my business, only being technically 4 years in full time. So, and then I always have him that I can go to him and ask him questions. And then of course we have the RBO inner circle that we can talk to as well. So I feel like, just seeing him go through those struggles and challenges helped me uh, be able to get through a lot of them myself and know that the pain is temporary. It's not something that's permanent forever. And if you can just get to the other side of the pain, similar to working out, if you can just get to the other side of the pain, your results are there waiting for you. So that's how you just have to get to that other side.
Exactly. I mean, you just got, as an entrepreneur, even in life, you just got to think like, this too shall pass, right?
Hmm.
You're going through it. It's painful right now. Well, this too shall pass.
Yep.
You're feeling great. Everything's successful. It feels like, you can't be touched. Well, guess what? This too shall pass, right?
Hmm.
That's
Yep.
life. I mean, that's awesome, right? You had someone even before, like, the inner circle, and I'm sure you had, been a part of other things as well, but
Yep.
having that family connection, because I mean, I have an aunt that is similar. She has a business, and she's ultra successful and stuff, and having that resource that is family is a little bit different, and it is a definitely a privilege, right? So what is your take on working or having family work for you, right? Do you have anyone that's in your family working for you, and or would you?
Not currently, but my son, he is 19 years old, and he kind of followed after the rest of my family. Like I think he kind of likes the 9 to 5 lifestyle right now, just because he's younger, and it's but I told him, like, now's the time to go for it. Whenever you don't have as much responsibilities. So I would like for eventually for him to join in and start doing some stuff with us. And my daughter, she's going to be graduating in a couple of years, so I've already started kind of grooming for her to do some stuff in the business and being able to you know possibly do social media, or just find what she likes in the business. And of course, if it's something that they're not into, then I'm not going to force them to do it. But it would be nice to have them helping out. Currently, there's no one in my family that's working for me, but I'm always open to having family and friends. It's there's a lot of challenges that come with that. And there can be, you just have to set clear boundaries with the family members or friends that you're working with, and make sure that they know, business is business and family is family. But it adds, I think it will add a even crazier dynamic, because it's going to make you want to succeed even more, because these people that you're close to depend on you and depend on your business. So I think it's going to make you want to succeed even more, having, your kids or family members working for you.
No, definitely. I mean, in my opinion, like, I mean, I've seen like friends have other friends work for them and stuff, and um, I've seen parents hire their kids, and it can either go really well
Mm-hmm.
or it can go the other end of the spectrum, right? There's not really like a middle ground,
Mm-hmm.
and it's one of those things where, as an entrepreneur, especially as a business owner, like, you want to succeed for your family whether they work for you or not. And so if they're working for you, now you realize, just like hiring any employee, basically their life also depends on you and your growth and all that kind of stuff. So that stress is already there. I feel like the one struggle is, like, you got to set those clear boundaries, like you said, because if you don't, and all of a sudden they start to take advantage of the fact that you are family, that's where it can get a little muddy in the water, right? But as long as you can set those boundaries, I mean, I feel like it could be successful.
Yeah, and that's hard to do, because I've worked with friends before. I was a manager over a few of my friends, the past company that I worked at, and actually, got them on to the company and stuff. And it was like, I had to separate that and not treat them any differently than I treat other employees. And I think, if you have your family working for you, sometimes that can be even more challenging, because you're going to want them to do well, and you're going to want good things for them. So you just have to separate, which is easier said than done, for sure.
No, it definitely is. I mean, my one of my business partners is, one of my best friends, and a lot of people were trying to give us like the talk of, like, you don't need partners, like, it's, especially a friend, it's not going to work out. And honestly, we make like the perfect, couple, right?
Hmm.
Because
Yep.
he's the passive one and I'm not, and we're yin and yang, so it ended up working out. But we have been able to separate, when it's business talk, it's business talk. Like, there's no
Hmm.
hard feelings, like, it is what it is. Let's get it done. And then we can literally go from one conversation, like, okay, is that it? Yep, cool, transition, basically, normal, take your mask off, and now we're just
Hmm.
us, right? So I think that's huge. What have been your expectations before becoming an entrepreneur to what the reality is of an entrepreneur? Have they been the same? Have they been different?
Oh, it's totally different. Like I said, with my uncle, I saw a lot of things, but I didn't see a lot of the downside of it, because he was successful by the time I started noticing. So, I'm thinking, oh yeah, I got this one client. I quit my job. I started working full time in marketing, and I was thinking, oh, I got one client, so now all these clients are just going to be coming and lining up, and that wasn't the case. It was a struggle for the first few years, just proving myself, getting success for other companies that I could show to potential clients, and just building my reputation. I think that's the hardest part whenever you're a new business owner, because there's so many people who start businesses and quit, and I've done that in the past. And just building that trust with the marketplace and building that name with the marketplace is the biggest challenge that I faced early on. And then cash flow, whenever you're doing it full time and you're dependent on that income coming in. And I had money set aside for this venture, but it's still, the money doesn't come in as fast as you would like it to. So that was a huge challenge, and something that I didn't really expect, because I thought, this one client was so easy to get that it was going to be that way. And then, in the digital marketing field, you see so much online about, people making six figures in the first 3 months that they start their agency. And for most people, that's just not the reality in any business. There's going to be an investment period. So I didn't think that it was going to be as challenging as it was. But it's something that I live for and enjoy most of the time.
I mean, I think that's like the biggest like misconception of being an entrepreneur, right? Especially with social
Hmm.
media and everyone kind of glorifying it, that may not even be like business owners necessarily, and maybe like solopreneurs, which is nothing wrong with. Is how I started out too, and that's how
Hmm.
everyone starts out. But you figure get a logo, you get a business name, and all of a sudden you're going to have a Ferrari in your driveway. I
Hmm.
think someone posted that the other day in the inner circle, and it honestly I was laughing about it.
Yep.
Um, because that's what a lot of people think, right? You think you're going to be one of those agencies, like you said, that all of a sudden is going to make, 5 figures or 6 figures or first month. And that's just not reality. And you were smart in having cash set aside and realizing that it's going to take some time. And some of those lessons were learned over your first couple, business ventures and stuff like that. Right. So I think that's the biggest realization and mindset shift is realizing it takes time, just like anything else. Right.
Hmm.
You don't become an amazing singer the first time you ever sing. You don't become a professional baseball player stepping on the mound one time, right? It takes time, and certain skills and lessons are learned only through time, right?
Hmm. Yeah, and I think everything that I've been through, even working for other people, all the skills that I've learned, and all the few failed ventures that I had that I tried before I got into to marketing, I think that all of those have prepared me to run this company and to be able, and not to say that I don't have challenges now, because I do, but it's prepared me for this situation, and to know that, like I said, if you just get through a certain point, then everything you want's on the other side.
Right. And then that point could be for different at different lengths for everybody, right? And just
Hmm.
knowing that someone else got there in a month or a year or 2 years, like yours might be 3 years, you just got to keep pushing forward. With you working, or starting off like a normal job, let's say 9 to 5, and then shifting into becoming an entrepreneur, what was some of the mindset shifts or mindset perspective changes that you had to make from being an employee to being a business owner?
Well, ever since I started working, and you know this probably ain't the best thing to do, but I would always count the business owner's money. Like, I worked at this one place, and they just had like boats. They were bringing in boats all the time that they had bought, and like just cool stuff. And I was thinking, like, man, they got it figured out, because I'm over here, working 9 to 5, and then they're just like going out doing whatever they want. So kind of like that mindset shift of just trading time for money. And I got in when I first started my business. I was still had that hourly employee type mindset. And you know I don't want to say that there's anything wrong with working a full-time job or working for someone else, because I believe everyone can be an entrepreneur, but I believe it is a process to becoming a successful business owner. But for me, I just had to get out of that mindset of being an hourly employee or trading my time for money. And instead of, now it's like trading results for money is what we do. And that's kind of the biggest set that I had to change, and just not expecting things to be easy, because when I first started, I thought it would be easy. So just Tim Grover says everything gets easier whenever you stop expecting it to be easy.
Yep.
So that's kind of the mindset that I have now. I just expect everything to be a challenge, and then usually it's easier than what I think it's going to be.
No, definitely. Expectations are the thief of joy, right?
Yep.
Just like comparison, right? So if you're expecting something and it doesn't happen, like you're setting yourself up for,
Hmm.
hurt, right? So it's like if you don't expect it and you just keep working and you treat every situation like its own situation, you won't have that loss if it doesn't work out. So with that being said, I want to rewind to something that you mentioned earlier. With everything that you do at Revolution One Media, you mentioned the fact that you're getting more into like the AI space, or you're looking into the AI space. What do you mean by that? Like, how is that impacting, companies in your opinion?
So I want to. We're looking into just integrating AI into businesses, and even like AR, like just augmented reality. For example, like you go to a coffee shop and you can scan the cup, and then cool stuff will just happen with the cup. Just an experience that the customer of the business can have. And I know like the AR stuff was being pushed for a while, and it's kind of dialed back a little bit. And even with AI, I think um you know I, AI is kind of a funny thing, because you don't I don't want to get to the point to where coming into businesses and just replacing humans. I want to I want to integrate AI in a way that the humans are operating the AI and being able to, but of course with anything like that, people are going to lose their jobs. It's just the way that the economy works overall. But I, as far as us, we want to try to minimize that as much as possible, but also just make people use AI to make businesses run more efficiently. Through just different formats with the AI, automation, and then but seeing what some of these robots can do with AI. Like my old job, I used to work in a warehouse selling medical supplies. So like I think in 5 years from now, 10 years from now, that's going to be all AI robots, most likely picking and packing and shipping. I mean, you kind of see it now with Amazon and other bigger companies, but I think it's gonna end up being smaller companies as well are gonna integrate AI. So, yep.
I think you're 100% right, and I think AI can be an amazing tool, right? And it should, in my opinion, at least, it should be viewed as a tool.
Hmm.
Yes, there's going to be things that get replaced by AI, like jobs and stuff. But at the same time, let's say for like your company, right? If everybody's using AI generated ads,
Hmm.
everyone's ads are going to look the same, right? You
Yep.
got to have that personal touch, a person's touch to the AI tool to, kind of fine tune it and make it unique. Otherwise, everything starts to blend together, and then, yeah, it's efficient, but it doesn't stick out, right? It doesn't pop.
Yep. That's
My
like
own,
go ahead.
no, go for it. What were you gonna say?
Just like the AI generated websites, they right now they can't create. They can create a good template, but they can't create a awesome website like a person can do yet. I think in the future that may be a possibility, but I mean, yeah, you're correct. Like I think there's always going to be a need for the human touch within AI.
Right. And even like, going into like the website thing you're saying, like I've seen the AI templates and stuff that are created, and yeah, they look clean and stuff. But again, you go onto someone's website, you can pretty much quickly tell if it's an AI generated one because it looks like 10 other ones.
Hmm.
Right. But then thinking about AI in the sense of using it to generate codes, like we were talking about MySpace, if you have that person's touch on knowing how to use the AI to create the code, because like coding itself is hard, right? Like
Hmm.
we both know that. But if you can use the AI and give it the right verbiage and stuff so that it generates the code that you want, I think that's huge, right? Because now you can use a template and make it your own. But I think my only worry with AI, especially did you see the picture, or there was like a video of there was some AI robots at a baseball game, I believe, and they're like just sitting in the stands.
Yep.
Like that I was like, oh man, like we're taking it to another level now, because like the first thing I thought was iRobot, right?
Yep.
you know,
Yeah, and eventually I think that could be something that we have to look into, because like any tool, just like the internet, whenever the internet was created, people use it for good, people use it for bad. So it's like you were saying, it should be a tool. It's a tool, but the thing is that some people will get it and they'll do bad with it, and then some people will get it and they'll do great things with it. So there's kind of a yin and a yang there, and hopefully there'll be enough good that it will counteract the bad and be able to protect us against any bad AI, or anyone that's using it for bad reasons.
no, I completely agree. Just like the internet, you said, like there's the dark web, then there's the
Hmm.
web, right? It goes both ways. But again, like using it, I think if you're a business owner and you're not using AI, or at least open to the idea of implementing AI, then you're going to be left behind, because you're still it's like, not wanting to type it on Word documents and you're going to handwrite a letter, right?
Mhm.
That's the kind of a comparison that we're going to be going with. You're just going to be left in the dust because people can start outworking you at a pace that you can't keep up with,
Yep.
right? So with you becoming an entrepreneur, and having that mindset shift, because like you said, you have to leave an hourly mindset to basically a task or a project mindset, and having to, shift your reality and your perspective on that. With that being said, what have you learned with like stresses that come in with cash flow? Like, what do you do if, let's say you have a good month and a bad month? What do you tend to do on, bad months? What do you tend to do on good months, if that makes sense?
Yep. So when I first started my business, I had a plan that every dollar that came in, I was going to take 33%. That would be my pay. 33% would go back into the business. 33% roughly would go into savings. So that way there would be a net. If anything ever happened, and for the good months and the bad months, and this is like after taxes and all that. Everything that is net for the company. That's what I try to do. It doesn't always work like that, but ideally, whenever things are going like that, it runs a lot smoother. And I've been blessed not to have very many bad months. So that's a good thing. But there are sometimes there's things that we want to do, and there's been times where cash flow has hindered that. So in the past, usually I just, you know, try to get more sales most of the time. And just set a goal to be able to reach. But I think, if you can set some aside, and there's been times where I didn't pay myself, and I think being financially responsible on a personal level, and not getting caught up in the things that you see on Instagram, the nice cars. Like I drive paid for older cars. I don't, I try not to live above my means. If we go on vacation or something like that, I mean, right now I'm just trying to keep everything dialed in and keep everything dialed back and live within my means so that I can invest in my business and have that, you know, in 3 or 4 or 5 years from now, just continue to feed the lifestyle, and just reinvest back into myself and into my company, and not get, the name brand clothes and the nicest vehicle that I can afford, and just kind of living below your means. And I think that's where a lot of entrepreneurs get in trouble, because a lot of us are from, lower class or lower income backgrounds. And whenever we get some money, it's like, you want to go out and you want to spend it and you want to make things happen with it. And you don't, but like, I just try to think 3 or 4 years ahead and invest for the future to try to, just live below my means.
No, and I think that's huge, and that's honestly that's probably one of the biggest like perspective changes that you can have as an entrepreneur,
Hmm.
because you have to think most of like the top level elite like entrepreneurs, like they're not the ones driving, the craziest cars all the time. And yeah, they may have a bunch of cars, but that's because that's what they like, right? But they're not the ones in crazy flashed out suits with a bunch of chains around their neck and all that kind of stuff. Like they're usually a little more modest, and
Hmm.
you start to realize that, the ones that are a little more flashy, it's like usually they're trying to put on a persona that may not really be their level of success, right? um but again, that's case by case, kind of what you like. With you growing your business and taking that entrepreneurial leap, how have you been able to balance your family life, with work life?
Um, I Even when I was working, I've always, worked 50, 55 hours a week, or at least, just about since my son was born. So, um, it's always kind of been a struggle as far as time management, just trying to make sure that I'm spending enough time with my family. And now as a business owner, you have all that stress on you, and as far as everything it rests on your shoulders. Every project, every client, every interaction, it's a reflection of you and your company. So that's a lot of stress on you. And then you have employees. So it's kind of just about time management. And a couple of years ago, about a year and a half ago, I started using my calendar and blocking out time. And at first it was hard for me to turn the phone off or not take client calls past a certain hour, but I just think of myself as like Walmart or something like that. At a certain hour they close and they just don't do business between those hours. And luckily for the business that I'm in, there's not anything that would just be a huge emergency that couldn't wait till the next day. So I've lost a client or two because they expected me to be there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, accessible, and it wasn't even over major things. It's just, we live in a world where everyone wants everything instantly. So I think the biggest thing is just blocking out your schedule and making sure that you're allowing time and setting aside time for your family. Like this past weekend, we went for Memorial Day weekend. We went to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and I just disconnected. I talked to a couple of my partners and told them like, "Hey, I'm not going to be accessible. If it's an emergency, this is what you do to contact me. But other than that, I'm not, I'm just disconnecting," which I haven't really done this whole time that I've had my business. So it was nice to kind of do that and be able to do that with having put the systems in place to be able to step away for a few days. So
No, I mean, that's awesome. I mean, as entrepreneurs, like we start to grind, 24/7 if, time allows us. So that's, as an early entrepreneur, it's one of those things you have to realize at some point, you got to make sure that you set time aside to spend time with, the ones you love, because otherwise you're going to end up building this thing and you're not going to have those relationships that you would like, because, this is what you're building it for. Right. So you don't want to lose your loved ones in the process of you building something for your loved ones. Right. So I think that's huge that you've, started a little time scheduling things. I mean, that's what I do too. My calendar is my key thing. Right. Do you have, I'm sure one of the answers to this question is going to be your uncle, but do you have any key influences that, have inspired you or continue to inspire you, in business?
I like Elon Musk a lot as far as his innovation. Some of the stuff that he does is kind of scary, but overall, I think that that kind of mindset where you're innovative, thinking into the future, and then also I think Trevor and Kale with the real business owners. I mean, I really like what they're doing, and I always related to their podcast, and it's always something that's helpful and valuable. So I would say like they're a someone that I look up to. And then I think as far as like books or learning material, I would say that Tim Grover has been the biggest help. And even though he doesn't know it, he's been one of my biggest mentors, just getting into the right mindset. And I actually found his book and done the 75 hard challenge at the same time. So both of those helped me become more disciplined and just change my mindset a lot on a lot of things. But I would say that that's some of the people that I look up to in business. And then of course, he's kind of a controversial figure, but Grant Cardone, a lot of when I was laid off of a company in 2014, the whole branch just they come in one day and was like everybody's gone, like shut the whole thing down. And I found his material and found the 10x rule shortly after that, and it just that helped change my mindset a lot as well.
No, I mean, I think those are awesome, influences and role models. I mean, starting off at Trevor and Kale, I mean, one of the things we both connected with was their podcast and stuff.
Mhm.
And, then I'm sure that you either found their Instagram or vice versa. But what amazed me about them was the fact that they started an accounting firm without being accountants,
Mhm.
right? And then they grew it to one of the biggest accounting firms, I mean, that I know personally, and they're doing, 8 figures, and which is crazy for being sales guys and not being accountants, right? To create a business like that.
Yep.
And then going into, Tim Grover, did you read both of his books?
I did. I liked Relentless a whole lot more than Winning, but I may not been ready for Winning yet. I'm gonna go back and revisit that now because I read it whenever it first came out, and I don't think I was quite ready for that one yet.
I mean, I kind of agree with you, right? Like I read both books. I've read both twice. Um, and Relentless is one of like because I have it on audiobook now. So like I'll use it when I
Mhm.
run or something, like if I'm going through one of those tough seasons or something, and that one kind of kicks you in the butt and, puts you back in grind mode, right? But Winning for me was like, it almost felt like subpar to Relentless, but also Relentless set the bar so high
Yep.
for those style of books, right? So it was a great book. Winning was a great book, but definitely I agree. Relentless had a little more impact for me personally. And then Grant Cardone, I mean, I think some of his information is really valuable, right? He is controversial in some of the moves and some of the things he says. I don't necessarily align with, but that
Mhm.
doesn't say I don't align with everything that he says, right? The only thing, have you ever been to one of his 10x cons?
No, I haven't.
See, okay, so I went to one, and that's what kind of turned me off from him a little bit, was because I was going there, and my expectations from being to other conferences like that was like something along the lines of, like the inner circle, or where you're getting these like, just knowledge based punches, right? And it was literally just a sales fest. Every person that got on stage was selling their
Yep.
product and only selling their product. And I was just like, man, like this is gonna be a long 3 days, like of just listening to sales
Yeah.
pitches
And
for 3 days.
it's more of a show now than it is, actual, I guess, like actual conference that you would think where you're going to get some knowledge. Seems like it's more of like a sporting, like similar to a sporting event or something like that, more than it is actual going and learning things. And you would think that it should be the opposite. It should be the amount of people that he's brought on and stuff. You would think that it would be totally different, but um that I like his relentless marketing, and just the he's always in your face everywhere you go. It's like he talked about in the book, being omnipresent. And I like those concepts, the 10x rule, setting your goals 10x higher than you think, putting in 10x more than the work that you think that you should to reach those goals. So like those concepts, similar to Dave Ramsey.
Yeah,
I like a lot of what Dave Ramsey says, but I don't think I don't agree with everything that he says. But for most of his points, I mean, he's pretty spot on. You shouldn't be going into debt for stupid stuff, and but I'm not to the total opposite end, to where I say don't go into debt for nothing, but
right.
don't go in debt for I don't know what's popular right now, but like a Gucci belt. Don't go buy a Gucci belt on credit, or something nice like that you want. Just invest in your businesses and let your businesses pay for, and your cash flow pay for the liabilities.
No, definitely. I mean, I think the one key thing that we can both agree on is investing in yourself, right? You invest in
Yep.
your business, you invest in all these things. And if you are spending money on Gucci belts and all that kind of stuff, like, and you're not spending money on yourself, meaning like your actual, mindset, your actual, skill set, things to make you better and earn more money, and just be a better human overall, then it's one of those things where your debt is going into the wrong places, right? Your debt should
Yep.
be an investment, and you should invest, in my opinion at least, and I think you would agree, into yourself, so that you can invest into whatever you want.
Yep, and I know that from personal experience, just spending money stupid when I was young, and not paying attention to what I was doing and thinking ahead. Just I got it now, so I'm gonna throw it out there and do it. But I learned that lesson the hard way, and now I know that the things that you buy that's not forever. People can, I mean, you can get robbed, you can get whatever. People can take that stuff from you, but if you invest into this and you invest into knowledge and yourself, You can't have that taken away from you. And you get to a point to where people can take everything else from you and you're able to get it back because you know the process and you have the knowledge. It may be a challenge, but the knowledge is there, so you can always get it back.
Exactly. It's almost like a rephrased version, but same kind of concept of like you teach or you give someone a fish they can eat for a day, and
Mm-hmm.
you teach them how to fish, so it's like if you learn how to fish, you can always make it back, right?
Yep.
With that being said, before we wrap up, I want to ask you a question that, I asked all my guests. Hypothetically speaking, everything that you've done, right? Everything that you've accomplished is, erased. What is the one piece of advice or the one lesson that you would have learned over the years that would be your legacy piece, your legacy information that would be basically on your tombstone that says, Chance Richardson, and then it has your lesson or your saying or, whatever it may be?
That's a good question right there. I think all of this, everything that I do is for my why. And my why is my family and leaving them in a better position whenever I pass away than than they would be if I lived my life another way. So I would say live by your why. Whatever
That's
that
awesome.
whatever that why is, live for your why, live by your why, and just keep that in your mind and keep pushing toward that reason. So,
No, that's awesome. And with that, I completely agree. Right. That's
yep.
one of the huge things I'm about is finding your why. And your why can't be something that's just surface level, like your family. That's not surface level, right? A Gucci belt, that's surface level,
Yep.
right? So with that being said, where can people connect with you? Where can people learn more about, Revolution One Media, about your podcast?
For Revolution One Media, you can go to revolutiononemedia.com. And for my podcast, you can just search up Chance Talks Business on YouTube. And, you can connect with me on there. My social media is there and also on the Revolution One Media website.
Awesome. Well, Chance, thank you so much for coming on today. Guys, make sure that you share this episode with a friend. Make sure you guys leave us a review. But Chance, honestly, thank you so much for, taking the time out of your day to hop on and drop some knowledge.
Man, thank you. I really appreciate it. This was fun. We'll have to do it again sometime.
Definitely.
No negative vibes, only positive thoughts. Cause in the game of life, mindset calls the shots. Got my mind on the prize, I can't be distracted. I stay on my grind, no time to be slacking.